Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day, brought to you by FiveMind.com. Yep, it's Groundhog Day again. It's always the same freaking recurring pattern with these Democrats. Here we are, sounding the alarm, saying something, expressing a point of great concern, and the entire time not only does the left dismiss the point, but no, they take it to a whole other level. They dismiss what you're saying, and then accuse you of being a bigot or a racist or a fascist. And then, of course, fast forward, I don't know, could be a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple years, and here we are again revisiting the issue, and I guess we were less crazy, less of a conspiracy theory. Turns out we weren't racist after all. No, turns out we were just right. It's always the same frickin' scenario. And in this case, we're going all the way back to Joe Biden's fall of Saigon moment. Well, I really remember like it was yesterday, we were sounding the alarm, warning that if you open the floodgates, especially to people from this region, from the war-torn Muslim Middle East, from terror-heavy regions, if you let them all in with no vetting, well, eventually you are going to import that chaos into America, and of course it applies to the West at large. And the entire time we were told we're crazy. There's no difference. There's no risk. You're just a racist. All these people are refugees. And now, well, one of those unvetted Afghan migrants that Joe Biden let in just committed a terror attack on American soil. And so I guess we weren't that crazy after all. No, I guess we saw the writing on the frickin' wall. The entire Kabul evacuation lie has now totally crumbled. We were absolutely dead on right, and it means we're probably right about the terror threat at large, that of course still remains. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks. So, well, very unfortunate situation just happened.
Federal investigators say they are learning more details about what's being called a brazen and horrific ambush attack targeting members of the National Guard serving in the nation's capital.
Their families' lives are all changed forever because one person decided to do this horrific and evil thing.
The two guardsmen on duty from West Virginia, identified as 20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom and U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf,
I believe were sworn in less than 24 hours before they were shot on the street in Washington.
The attack has prosecutors vowing swift justice against the 29-year-old suspected gunman, identified as Ramanullah Lakhanwal, an Afghan national who immigrated to the U.S. in 2021. Fox has learned as a teenager the suspect was vetted and worked with the CIA in Kandahar. He was granted asylum in the U.S. this spring.
The subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. That is what a broad-based international terrorism investigation looks like.
So we got one of these situations, you know, the same kind of stuff they're dealing with in the UK and London and France. A terror attack in broad daylight. The man yelled, "Allahu Akbar." And then we learn that supposedly this guy was a refugee from the fall of Kabul. Then the most interesting part, in comes the Trump administration, now validating pretty much what we already knew. We've got a released State Department email from the Biden administration from back during the fall of Afghanistan in 2021, and it now basically confirms exactly what we suspected at the time. They were not vetting the people that they were putting on those planes. I mean, as if you needed to be told that, considering the scenes that we saw on the day, with people hanging onto the plane as it was flying into the sky only to watch them one by one falling to their tragic end, just bodies falling from the sky. You mean to tell me that wasn't an organized, vetted evacuation of Afghanistan? Yeah, of course it wasn't. And well, now we've got the document to prove that they were flying blind throughout the entire Afghanistan withdrawal. Literally, from their own words, they were rushing to resettle these Afghans without even knowing who they were. Apparently, there were spreadsheets of names just kind of bouncing around, and you had top Biden officials asking, "Do you recognize any of these people?" To which mostly the answer was no. They were supposed to be evacuating current employees, personnel as well, but instead what ended up happening was they were just packing up these planes full of migrants and just shipping them on over, not knowing who the hell was in that plane. Obviously not a freaking good idea. But the worst part was, as we were watching what was going on, as per usual, they were gaslighting us. You had Afghans falling from the sky. It was complete chaos, a terrorist attack. You had service members, 13 of them, who died during this all-out chaos that Joe Biden and his incompetent goons couldn't get under order. Well, because they had no freaking plan plan. It was an absolute disaster, and we could see it with our eyes. But as it was happening, the Biden administration was assuring us throughout those moments that they were vetting everyone and there was no risk to the nation. And of course, the media carried their water. The media just spread the lie.
No one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process.
We absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted. These people are vetted.
It was just a right-wing conspiracy theory. It was hysteria, bigotry. In comes all the experts to fact-check, assuring viewers that no, there are robust vetting processes for all of these people. They're all legitimate asylum seekers and people who are working against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda on behalf of American intelligence operations. In other words, they lied to you as they funneled again tens of thousands. I think it might have even been possibly over 100,000 or somewhere close. Can't remember off the top of my head, but it was certainly multiple tens of thousands of unvetted migrants were being poured into the country. And now look, we were right again. The conspiracy theory was less theory again. And the tragic prophecy becomes real because the left ignored every freaking warning in favor of the virtue signal, the photo op. Nothing can go wrong. The all-virtuous left turns a blind eye to all the most obvious, deep red, flashing warnings, always with the same cultural relativism nonsense.
I don't believe that anyone is coming into the United States of America or the UK, as a matter of fact, because they want to bring about a Salafist-style Islamic caliphate in London. I know you won't agree with me on this.
It's not about whether I agree. It's about whether the facts agree with you.
I don't think that's the case.
Hold on.
I think ultimately...
Well, let me just give you some facts then. We have a terrorist attack on a monthly basis by an Islamist, effectively. We just had 2 in the space of the last month as we're recording this. 33%, I think, of British Muslims want Sharia law in Britain, according to polls. More than half want to ban...
I haven't seen these polls.
Well, we can put them in for people to see. More than half want to ban homosexuality. So when you say people aren't coming in to introduce an Islamist stuff, well, some of them want to if they're in a position to do so. We have 5 MPs who are effectively elected on a sectarian ticket, like as in we are Muslims, vote for us because you're a Muslim. I think it should be said that the overwhelming majority of British Muslims don't want Sharia law. But if 33% of them do, you can see why a lot of people who don't want Sharia law might be concerned about that, right?
Always the same thing, right? The left pointing at the distraction. Here they are opening the floodgates. They point at the Muslim community and say, look, there are good actors. Therefore, ignore the obvious glaring issues. But yes, I'm not going to deny that obviously there are plenty of good Muslims who come to the West. They contribute, they assimilate, they live peacefully, work hard, raise families, never harm anyone. I understand that. But of course, that isn't the whole story now, isn't it? It's always using, anecdotes or a half-truth as a shield to avoid the very uncomfortable conversation that is the elephant in the room. And the reality is that there are massive swaths of the Muslim world where extremist beliefs are normalized. And so you have to be very careful. And we're talking about over 1 billion Muslims across the world. Anywhere from, let's be really generous and say 10 to all the way up to 40, 50% have extreme anti-American, extreme fanatical religious views. If they hate America, hate you, hate Western civilization, with some of them even being tied to terrorist organizations, well, that equates to hundreds of millions of people. And so when you're in that part of the world and you just open up the floodgates, everybody get on the plane and pack in, well, just statistically, you're likely to import a few terrorists. That's not racist. And to issue that warning is not racist. First of all, Islam is not a race. And secondly, it's just a factual observation. You cannot import a fanatical religious horde that seeks to conquer you, to replace you, to uproot your entire society. You cannot import those people and expect that it's going to go well, that everything's going to be peachy and fine. That's simply not how the real world works. And just imagine how bad it really is, how bad it's going to get and continue to get if the Trump administration hadn't tackled the issue. Joe Biden let in likely over 10 million unvetted illegals. How many terror cells are already embedded within the nation? But I guess I'm just a bigot. I'm just a racist for asking that question or having that concern. Well, once again, it seems as though reality is undefeated against the ignorant, naive left. That's what I got for you guys anyways. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.